This is not going to be an install video because, as you can see, I have already installed the frameless rear view mirror. But if you're interested in how to install one, I'm going to go over the this is the technology package, and I will talk about the non-technology package. If you're wondering about how to open this shell, it's pretty hard actually. Grab it and pull it apart with your fingers. There's a seam right here where my fingernail is. It'll open up just a little bit. Take a pocket screwdriver and put it in here very gently, right about here, and then pop it. Just turn it a little bit and it'll pop. Once this part has released, then take some kind of a panel tool, right? And you can go down here to the bottom seam and pop it with the panel tool because it'll be a little bit wider than the pocket screwdriver can handle. Once it's apart, you'll see where the pigtail for the mirror mounts, and I'll go over that in a minute as far as the pigtail. Let me skip ahead now to talking about the A-pillar here. The A-pillar has a plastic attachment here, here, and here. It's kind of soft, so don't use your fingers. Use a panel tool, something. I think I used one that was wider than this, but use something that you can stick in here and pull this way, right, sort of towards the B-pillar, this way. So you stick it in here and pull. It is also fairly difficult to pull. Now, what you'll find is for the plug here, they want, for the pigtail, if you do not have the technology package, there'll just be a little plastic strip here that you won't have a big camera setup. There's a pigtail or a loom that comes with it. They want you to take this out. I think you can see this. I wouldn't bother with that. Just try and snake it around this, which should be fairly easy because this goes up into the sheet metal here. Route it around here, and then down here there's a connector that they want you to get to that's down here. Now what I really wanted to talk about is don't use a Scotch lock. They give you 3 Scotch locks. Please do not use them. Yes, it's quick and easy, but eventually those wires, which are very, very thin, will break. And then one day, you know, maybe next year or the year after, you'll be driving along and maybe the sunroof won't work, or maybe the map lights won't work anymore. So I'm going to talk about what I think you should do about the wiring. But pull this. Oh, so when you pull this out, you won't be able to take the A-pillar off right away. There's a little plastic leash or a strap that I will show you in a minute. It's to make sure that the A-pillar doesn't smash you in the face when the airbag goes off. It's very easy to undo that, but when you go to put this back on, it's not easy to put that little leash back on. So I'm going to show you that in a minute too. But I wanted to show you how to get this apart, because this is actually if you have the technology package, this is pretty hard to get apart at first. And what to do, where to find the wires. You need to find the black, violet, and dark blue. So on the A-pillar, the upper clip I was talking about, the one that acts as a tether for the A-pillar, looks like this on my 2019 Grand Tour Reserve. When you pull the A-pillar off, this part will be stuck in the A-pillar and it'll go away. This part will be stuck in the A-pillar sheet metal. So this will be left. This part goes into a plastic piece in the A-pillar, right, to tether it so it doesn't smack you in the face. It's in a slot that's 90 degrees. You take, while this is stuck in the sheet metal, you take this tab, turn it, and push it through, and then you can take the whole A-pillar out. The problem becomes when you go to put this thing back in, there is not enough room to get behind there, right? Because it's like this, the A-pillar wants to snap closed. You don't have very much space on this side, so you cannot twist this thing to put it back into the A-pillar. Now, the Mazda kit comes with another one. I would suggest you just pull this out of the sheet metal and use the new one. But if you want to reuse this one, so these tabs are below the level of the sheet metal. If you stick a screwdriver up in behind here, you will not be able to pull it out. What you need is a pick, and it'll be in the sheet metal just like this. On the top and the bottom is where the clips are, right? You will need to take a pick and pull it down from the inside, and then you'll be able to remove this. The clip goes like this with the open part back towards this tether. This is what the new one will look like. You slide this into the well, first put this tether in, right, to the plastic piece. Then just slide this on top of, see how these are close together? The tower that this sits on, so this tether will look exactly like this. It'll be in a hole in the bottom. Then you just slip it onto the top of the tower. Now you're ready to put this back into the car. You clip it in, and this clips into the sheet metal. So I hope that's clear. Remember, this is not an installation video. It's more like tips you might want to know if you're installing this. Now, one of the things, because I have the technology package and the and it came with, right, the framed electric rear view mirror, I thought this was going to be super simple. That the plug on the new mirror, the frameless mirror, looks exactly like this. And I thought this is going to take about 4 minutes for me to open up that piece of plastic, clip this in, and I'll be done. Well, no, that's not it. I don't know if you can tell, but there are about 4 or 5, let's see, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, so there are 5 wires in this plug. There are only 3 wires in the frameless mirror. So I plugged this right into the car, and then when I turned the ignition on, nothing happened. I was going to see if I could just repin this. Pull this plastic retainer out, unpin it, right? And I thought this would be so simple. But what I noticed, no, I don't know if you can see there, but what I was afraid of is that if I just repin this, what might happen is there might be a ground that goes in, right, is connected inside this plug to a little plate, and then there might be a ground that goes back out, right? So there's a ground that comes in, there's one pin, well there's actually 2 pins there would not be a corresponding female pin, so ground comes into this plug and goes out of this plug. So the point that I'm trying to make is I don't think it's a good idea to try and repin the female plug in the car to match this, because I'm afraid that there might be some, I don't know what to call them, like transfers where power comes in and it goes out. So let's say that the mirror only needs one power. You may have two powers coming in, or one power that comes in and then goes out. Anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I would not suggest that you repin the plug. What I did is, so this is the female part of the plug that the mirror is attached to a pigtail. This is what you'll find in the car. Up here, so it'll be like this, like you're looking from the bottom and there'll be a bracket up here. You need to stick a pin or a pick down in underneath here, right? And then it'll pull forward out of the bracket. So don't try and rip it off the windscreen. So then you install, all right, go ahead and install the mirror on the windscreen. The pigtail for the replacement mirror, the frameless mirror, is a little bit longer. You may have to wind it up a little bit. But then what I decided to do, because I have the technology package, there's no sense in going to the A-pillar to look for your wires when there's a pigtail, right, that looks like this, just inches away from where you need power and ground. So what I did is I stripped back the insulation, and then please again don't use the Scotch locks. You know what, I think I threw them away. Don't use the Scotch locks. So I stripped back the insulation. Then what I do is I take a razor blade and I'll make a cut. These wires are so thin. I'll make a cut on the wire up, like here, and maybe maybe a centimeter back. And then what I do is I take a razor and shave the insulation. What I don't want to do is I don't want to cut the wire and have a bunch of splices. Better to solder on a piece of wire onto a non-cut wire. So if you think about it, I make a little cut at the top, a little cut a little bit farther back, then I use a razor blade at a real high angle, shave 1/2 of the insulation, and then you can peel the insulation back and you're left with an untouched piece of wire that's not sheathed anymore. Then what I do is I wrap the wire around my new wire. Don't solder the new wire, don't pre-solder the new wire, wrap it around, and then when it's like that, solder it together there. That's what I do. By all means, use whatever method that you wish, but in my mind, that makes the best connection. If you decide, well, you made a mistake, or you don't want this, if you want to go back to the way it was, all you need to do is resolder this, and it'll come right off. Then you can rewrap, or however you want to seal up the original wire. You only need 3 wires. You need a black, the violet, and the dark blue. And so that's what I did. I cut the, let's see, it would look like this. So I only had a very short piece, maybe about that long, right? And then these wires I soldered onto the other plug. So I ended up with 2 plugs that looked one piggybacked in front of the other one. I wrapped the whole thing up, and then I was able to just plug the new accessory plug into the existing plug. I don't know if that makes any sense. If you're working on it, if you decide to put that frameless mirror in your Mazda 6, that's that's my tips, especially for this part, because this part is not real obvious. This is the late model one. The kit actually does come with an earlier model one. This is my original one that I was able to keep, that I didn't destroy. Anyway, I hope that answers maybe some of your questions. I would suggest the Mazda kit because of this part. If you got a universal, it may come with like 2 or 3 of these ends, and you may have to mix and match. I would, even though it's expensive, I would just buy the Mazda one. So that's it for that, I think.